I hate introducing myself.
Me too. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cluster Chronicles. This is episode 4, and we have our guest Cato with us. She's a mod for Cluster Buds, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Cato. I'm 31 years old. I'm from the Netherlands. I've been suffering from prostatitis for 9 years now, of which approximately 5 years chronic. I'm a moderator for the Clusterbot server, just like Cato.
What do you do as a moderator in the Cluster Buds server?
Most of all, engage others, welcome them. I like to format informational text, make sure everything looks good, organized. Of course, moderated chats, make sure nothing gets said that isn't allowed to, which doesn't happen often. But yeah, you have to moderate rules, things like that. It's a lot of people together. But I think most of all make members and new members feel at ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think we would be as organized if it wasn't for you. It'd be a very big, messy place.
Yeah, that's more my part. Like that's what I like about our team of moderators and buddies we have. Everyone has their own specialties. Some people are better with supporting. I wouldn't be the first person to hop on a support call, but I do like, especially all the information and resources we have collected to be easily accessible for people who are in need of that information.
Mm-hmm. How about you tell us how cluster headaches started with you?
In my puberty, I used to have migraines. They were gone for a couple of years. I was 22. I just moved out of my parents' place, and I think within 3 months, my cluster headache started. And I'm not sure if I exactly remember my first attack. I do know that I thought it was a different kind of migraine. So what I used to do is just go lay in my bed, close the windows and the curtains, lay in the dark and sit it out that way. I also think they didn't reach like full potential pain level wise yet. I did start going to the GP fairly quickly, saying
When they
like,
were starting, were they on one side too?
yeah,
Like
it
the not as intense as what we know as higher kips are, but it was one side that you were
definitely,
experiencing the
yeah,
migraine on.
yeah, exactly. It was different. It was way more painful than the migraines I was used to. My migraines always used to be a bit more left sided. This was right sided, like completely right sided. The blocked nose was a big symptom for me. And that's also what I always told my GP. And yeah, they would just send me home, do some yoga, keep
Hormones.
an eye on it. Well, not even, but yeah, keep an eye on it. At some point, they called them holiday or weekend migraines. I'm not too sure which one of the two, but they did call it that because they would occur for me at moments where I would have time of work. I had time to relax. So they would come in the weekends, in my vacations, in the evening. So yeah, that's why they came up with that diagnosis. And at some
Like the
point,
business headache, I think I've heard too before.
yeah, well, when you try to search for the term, it's a bit vaguely like, is it
Yeah.
really something? I guess they just, I don't know, it
It was
explains
never an
it.
actual diagnosis, but it was just what people called it.
Exactly. So I started getting going more to the GP because, they started getting worse. It started having more of an impact on your life, on your energy levels. At some point, she told me to keep a diary for a couple of weeks. So I came back after three. I showed her the diary and she didn't even look at it. And she asked me like, can you make something up out of it yourself? No. Again, well, keep an eye on it. And I think it was two or three GPs further. Still no diagnosis of further help. And I was laying in my bed during an attack, and I was searching on the internet for different types of migraines, and I stumbled upon a paper from a hospital, information about migraines, and then there was some information about cluster headaches. Never heard of it, never read about it. And the first thing they said was, it's way more painful than migraines. And my thoughts were like, how is that possible? Like those poor people. And then they mentioned something about the nickname suicide headaches. And then I was even more like, oh my God, there are people who having it worse. And I was almost like, okay, maybe I'm just exaggerating everything. And then came a list with symptoms: blocked nose, one-sided, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fuck, I have this. I have this. So I sent that document to my GP. And I never ever saw her again. She just redirected me to a neurologist. I asked. That's how I got my diagnosis. Actually, I diagnosed myself. And the neurologist, she confirmed it. And it wasn't a headache specialist. She was a neurologist, but I was the first ever cluster head she had in her office.
Was she tell you that you were her first, and she was very open to learning with you, or was she more, this is how it's gonna go, kind of?
No, she was very open to learning. But she just admitted, like, I, I'm also just looking up the information, and what I read is verapamil. And she put a thumb on my wrist to measure my heart rate, and we found out that it was pretty low. She first had to go through some tests, but after trying that and not being able to continue the verapamil treatment, I actually asked myself for a redirection to a headache specialist in the Netherlands here, and she,
Mhm.
without question, she was like, "Yeah, sure, of course." But I'm glad she was open about it. What was nice was there was a spot immediately, so I didn't have to wait. I could get the diagnosis. I could like get the standard test, blood works, MRI, things like that. So when I did get the redirection to the specialist, I already had the diagnosis, so they could help me.
They didn't have to go through all
Yeah,
the
they could.
back and
Yeah,
forth and,
exactly.
is
They
it
could.
this, try this medication, yeah.
Yeah, they could help me more quickly. They just also had to reconfirm the diagnosis, but it was pretty clear that it was just headaches. But before this all happened, I have been getting them for 3 years already. And a very common thing with women and cluster headaches is that they get misdiagnosed or diagnosed with migraines, and it doesn't get recognized. Because if I look back at what I told all my GPs I had in that period of time, the symptoms are very clearly cluster related. It's just that doctors, or at least GPs, a lot don't know about cluster headaches.
Very distinct symptoms to be missed
Yeah,
so frequently.
yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's 3 years is long. I know people who've gone longer without diagnosis, but it's really not uncommon, especially not for women.
Hmm.
And it's hard to get through, because I remember I asked for a referral to a neurologist before, but I just didn't get it. They sent me
Yeah, you
home,
just,
but like, here, look up those yoga videos on YouTube. And yeah,
even if you're not
sorry.
being called over dramatic, you're getting the undertone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as soon as I dropped the cluster headaches, I just blatantly said, like, this is what I have. This is exactly what I experienced. I didn't even talk to her anymore. No questions asked. It was just like, okay, neurologist. It's like they're kind of
This is out
scared
of
to
my
touch
hands.
you or
Her
something.
hands. Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be worse. It could be better.
During those 3 years before you got diagnosed, did you ever hit high kips, or was it always lower?
Uh, I think I would have like 8 max. But
And that was every attack, or?
No, I think it would be like 6 to 8. I always could fairly keep myself calm. Maybe because I thought they were migraines. I made myself lay still in bed, which is hard during a cluster attack. But then again, I'm also not sure, you know, how I experienced the pain back then. Like now, I'm more used to it. So yeah, I rated differently back then, probably. Yeah,
Yeah, thinking about the attacks when they first started, it's hard to remember
yeah,
until it happens again.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
do
your
remember
brain just kind of blocks it off for you.
I would start up with doing things again fairly quickly after an attack. I've had a couple of times at a festival or, when going out, I had an attack. I would just sit it out somewhere, and as soon as the pain was gone, I would just continue. Great, let's go. And I think that for me personally, it's also part ADHD. Like, could never sit still. I was not a person to stay home at
Hmm.
all. Always surrounded by friends and people. Right now, I couldn't imagine that anymore. If you have an attack, especially if it's a tougher one,
Take a break.
but the exhaustion builds up. And that's why a lot of people, get in a state of burnout
I think
because
that's one of the only things that got me through was knowing, like you said, that the attack was just gonna be over. And when it's over, I'll go do whatever makes me happy, what I want.
yeah, yeah,
Just how quickly it finishes. Yeah,
yeah. I think
you can only do that
for
for so
a
long
lot
too.
of people, the mindset still of like, keeping yourself busy, continuing with life is so usual until you have the breaking point where you can't anymore. And you have
Mm.
to relearn how to preserve and your energy levels, if that makes sense.
Mm. Was there ever a breaking point for you like that where you had to kind of step back and reevaluate what you're doing with your life and where you need to prioritize your well-being over anything else?
Not too long after my diagnosis, my cycles were getting longer. At some point, one was 7 months, and
And
was also the part where I was becoming chronic, and I was working full time, and I really had the mindset. Like in the beginning, I didn't have any night attacks, but at some point, my night attacks started. I think also since I got the sumatriptan injections since my diagnosis,
it's
and
right after you got diagnosed, right?
yeah, and then when I had the nightly attacks, I would have this mindset like I'm sick at night, but during the day I'm not sick. So my
Hmm.
colleagues shouldn't suffer from me being sick at night. And if I say this out loud now, I think like you're insane. Mm.
You're torturing yourself. Yeah.
How can you how can you live on no sleep or barely any sleep?
Hmm.
And at some point, it would be for me. I would go home after work. I would cry, not be able to cook for myself, just sit somewhere in a corner. And yeah, I don't know, go into the night again and have your 3 or 4 attacks per night and then go back to work again. And in the beginning, my work was fairly understanding. At some point, we made a deal where I would just start a bit later. They would just say, start up, you know,
It gives you the
go
morning.
away from home when you're ready. And yeah, it would still end up in like sitting out an attack and then immediately go out of the house, going travel to work. And I just started therapy as well. I started therapy because I was being told I had anger issues by my father, by my parents. I felt misunderstood. I was exhausted. I was burned out.
You're
I
tired.
yeah, I was tired.
Nobody
Holy
understands.
shit. It's undescribable, the tiredness we can
I was
experience.
gonna add to the working and just continuously pushing yourself and going and going and going because the more you push yourself, the less pain you'll be in. And then getting home and looking at your bed and knowing that it's either fall asleep in pain or wait in pain.
Yeah, but like
There's
that's
no there's no in between. That's all you're gonna get, and then you have to go to work.
that's the thing. Like sleep is a traumatic event for us, and
Hmm.
I later in life I've been able to get rid of the nightly attacks mostly, which helps. But I still have so much trouble falling asleep because sleep is bad.
Hmm.
Sleep is a bad time. My body just blocked it.
Your body knows it's trying to to save you, save face. Let's not go to
There,
sleep because
if sleep is
you're
a
going to be able
trigger,
to abort it maybe easier. Not even to, needless to say that sleep is a trigger. It's the thing that we do the least. It's continuously interrupted. Look at the Geneva Convention. It's one of it's illegal to use as a torture method because it's extreme. It's extreme on the mind and the
yeah,
body.
it is. But yeah, no, I had anger issues. So yeah, I was in therapy, and
Understandably.
I even found like a therapist 5 minutes walking from my work. So I could go quickly in between and be back as soon as possible. Things like that.
Go
I,
to
I,
work
I
and
felt I
yeah.
felt like a burden. Everything, my health declining, everything around that, I felt like a burden to others. And at some point I came there, and even before I sat down on the couch, I started crying. And I was just so tired, and that's what I said. Like I'm just so tired. And then my psychologist made me promise, like, okay, you go back to work, but you're not gonna work any second. You're gonna tell your boss you're calling in sick and you don't know for how long. Then you're going home and you're going to text me when you are. If you haven't texted me within an hour, I'm gonna call you. And I was already like making up excuses, but like this and that, and it's so busy at work and my colleagues. And she's like, no, 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 not a second. You're also not gonna finish the task you were doing.
You're giving everybody
You're gonna
else
be off.
excuses,
Yeah.
not yourself.
Yeah. And I already made the deal with my partner that I was gonna be staying at his place because to him I also said something the night before, like I'm just so tired. I just felt lost. And so I called in sick. I went to his place. I cried all the way back in the tram, in the train. I cried everywhere. And she actually told me like you have a burnout. And then later that night she also called me. She said after work I will call you, that I could reach her whenever it needed. And I needed that. It was actually just someone
Hmm.
telling me that I am tired, and the burnout is not, it's also not weird when you're young. I think maybe that's also like a stigma on it. And
Yeah,
you would have the feeling,
anybody
I
can
don't
be
know,
burnt
it's
out.
27 or 28, something like that. Like I'm young, how can I be burned out, you know? But yeah, that was for me the turning point, and not necessarily headache wise. It even went downhill more after. But mindset wise, it was just a start of
It's not just
accepting
somebody
the
that
fact,
listened.
accepting the fact that I'm sick. It's not going to change. I have to change my life and my
Hmm.
or my way of living, and that whole process. But most of all, accepting that I wasn't exaggerating.
Yeah, it hits hard hearing you walk in and be emotional immediately because having to be around so many people that don't listen to you on a constant basis and knowing deep down when you walk in there, that person, even if they don't even like you, they have to listen to you. You took that and ran with it. You were just like, this is what I'm going through. You opened up right away
I couldn't anymore. I,
and you
I
couldn't
think
help.
that's also the first time I really opened up as a therapist. Like it takes
Hmm.
time to, get a bond and get to know each other. I just couldn't anymore. I just couldn't. It's
Your bottle was overflowing.
Yeah, yeah. You're just done. I've had moments after like taking my time off of work and like leaning into the fact that I was burned out. I had moments where I would go to the supermarket walking, which is like a 10-minute walk from here, and not being able to walk back home. that my legs just wouldn't respond to the signals I was sending them, and then
Hmm.
my partner had to pick me up. And it sounds insane. That's possible, but that's possible when you're exhausted. That's possible
It's
from
yeah.
burnout. Yeah, yeah,
I was gonna say you were exhausted to the point where your body was making you
yeah.
stop.
That's
If you don't want to
happening.
stop, and they're
Yeah,
gonna force you, and
yeah,
stress can do that to your body, and it can lead to a lot,
yeah.
a lot more trauma in your body.
I'm always trying to, with other cluster heads, especially if they're newer with the diagnosis or with the condition,
Hmm.
always try to make them aware of that, like able to try to avoid that, getting in the state of burnout.
Avoid getting that point. It
Yeah,
can be hard though.
like make them realize that your life shouldn't all revolve around work
Hmm.
because everyone is doing so. What really
All
helped
the
for me
excuses
as
you're giving
well,
other people,
yeah,
you also deserve. Like they had to call in because of this, and like, why aren't
yeah.
you calling in?
No,
Yeah,
what really helped for me was my psychologist also told me that like having a chronic disease is like a full-time job, but you can never take a day off or a holiday or call in sick. It's just always going on, and even if you're not always in pain, even if you have periods of remission, you're always thinking about it,
it's always in the
preparing
back of your
for
mind.
it,
Yeah,
recovering from it. There's so much around it, making sure you have your medications right on hand. It's always there, and it won't
it's
leave.
the mental, the trauma of it, and you never knowing when it's going to hit you. You having to go out with your friends, and always surveying your head.
I can imagine if I would be years in remission, I would still carry medication with me.
Hmm. I will. I would definitely as well. Hopefully, one day we can both get to remission.
It would be nice,
Yeah.
but it's not as bad anymore as it has been. So I
Mhm.
have fairly good periods, but it's never completely gone. I think you have it more
Yeah.
continuously.
Are you comfortable talking about DMT?
I
I
am.
can exit to cut this out. Yeah. So I'll just start with this. So when it comes to the sumatriptan, you said that it was causing more frequency in your attacks. Are you still taking a lot of sumatriptan? Or how did you kind of manage and figure that out, find that out?
I've used it for years, and it's a working abortive for me, and I don't think I have the worst side effects from it that most people talk about, like the tightness around the heart or the chest. I don't recognize that, so I'm lucky, but I do have the feeling that once I got to the headache specialist, and they told me I could take like an injection with every attack, so like up to 8 a day.
Which is that's what you were having at the time was like around 8 attacks a day.
Sometimes it would happen, but they got more and more and more. So I also talking with others, I do think like overuse or a lot of using triptans can cause like qualification. And last year, when I attended the Cluster Busters conference in Texas, where I met you as well, it was for me the turning point DMT again, and so that was September last year. I've been able to make a switch later that month, and of course, in the beginning, also a lot of error and trial, a lot of non-fun trips while being in pain and figuring out the right dosage, how to use it.
He's
It
trying the DMT on in a vape pen,
Yeah, yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mix it myself, and so I know what I'm vaping, and it's now my main abortive. Unfortunately, I lost my vape pen last week, so this week I'm back to the triptans, and I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with it at all. It's still an abortive. I rarely use the triptans. in the rare cases where the DMT is not doing it or doing when I moment, but I never feel better afterwards. It compared to using DMT. It makes the
DMT,
attack
it almost
tougher
relieves
itself. Yeah, and after that, it feels like you've been run over by a car. Or so
sumatriptan is hard on the body.
it's definitely hard on the body, and still, if it wasn't for the triptans, I'm sure I wouldn't have been here because it's the abortive that did it for me every time in the past. What they said, 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, but I'm happy to be almost completely rid of it. Yeah.
It's like not a back door. That's not the word I'm looking for. A backup. It's not your main abortive anymore. It's a
No,
backup. You would much rather eat the DMT.
but I
Yeah.
always have one in my bag. I always have one in my car. I always have one next to my bed.
So over oxygen, do you even use oxygen or you just fully DMT and sumatriptan?
No, for me it's really DMT and sumatriptan. I could give oxygen a better try. I have to admit that. But for now, I do always still have two small tanks at home. But it's also more like, what if the others would stop working? I've had a moment where one shot of sumatriptan wasn't enough, and two shots would abort the attack, which
Cut it out,
I
yeah.
know, okay, don't follow this. This is no advice. Don't do this.
No,
Um, I know it was on my own risk.
it didn't work for me. It just made my attack worse. So and it really depends on the person.
Yeah, for me, I
Yeah.
had a couple of times, and I still rarely have it, where one shot will only make a ramp up and then it won't go down. If I take a second
Hmm.
one or a second one of the 3 milligram, which is 9 milligrams in total, will abort it. But yeah, of course it's a risk. You're taking double the doses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In some areas where they only have 6 milligrams, people will do like suma split. So they'll split the sumatriptan. So they have the 3 milligrams
yeah,
so they can abort an attack with
yeah. For me,
three
3 is
milligrams of the
rarely enough.
six.
It's
Yeah.
6 or more, and that's what kind of scared me at some point, like the double shots. I was like, shit, what if it stops working completely? So that's why I always have oxygen at home. And now I have the DMT as main abortive, which it's been a really game changer. But psychedelics in general, I'm
I've
so
tried DMT too, and it's great. It's not my main abortive, oxygen is, but DMT is my go-to if I'm struggling.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But same with the magic mushrooms, like how many people has it saved, and for me myself as well. That's the thing
Hmm.
that was a game changer for me headache wise. And
So say, when did you first try magic mushrooms? What did you try them for, headaches? Did somebody suggest it to you?
no, I tried magic mushrooms, or what we call them, well, in the Netherlands you can legally buy truffles. It's like an underground product,
Mhm.
and it's a wet product. I did the recreationally before. I'm not completely sure. I believe one time was before I got prosthetics as well. The second time was when I was having prosthetics, but I think outside of cycle. It wasn't really taking
Hmm.
over my life yet. I didn't have a diagnosis yet. And then later on, I think I was sick at home for 9 months or so. And my headaches were getting worse. I was having 8 to 12 attacks a day, one after the other. And I could abort them, but imagine
That's
taking
still.
12 sumatriptan shots in a day. That kills you in some
I
other.
think you're one of few, definitely one of few.
Again, don't advise this, but yeah,
No,
I was getting suicidal. Well, getting suicidal. I never did or tried anything, but I would think about it most of the time. If I would take the train, I would always, think like 2 steps, and I'm just
the ideation.
I'm just rid of it, you know?
Hmm.
I have relief. And I reached out on Reddit, and a couple of Dutch people responded, and they invited me over for dinner. And there was a guy, he was 50 plus from Reddit. I knew his first name. And I went there, and I literally went there with the thought, like, worst case scenario, there's serial killers. Fine by me, otherwise it.
It goes to show the mental state that it puts us in. We don't want to die ourselves, but we want the pain to die, and the pain is a lot of our life.
I didn't care anymore. I was like, if
Hmm.
this ends badly, I'm gonna end it myself badly. So I went there. It was life changing. Like the first time meeting another cluster head, not having to explain yourself. Like I wanted to shake a hand, and I was like, no, fuck it. Now we hug each other, and you immediately start crying. And there was another guy around my age, and 2 days later he came to my place with some truffles, and we did a full dose together. And it was a heavy trip, but it was good. I did a lot of crying, but I also had a lot of realizations that I did
He
have
was there with you the
people.
whole time.
Yeah, well, I took some time apart as well. I laid down in bed, and it was most of all what we both had is the trip, or then the mushrooms. They exaggerated our exhaustion. But for me, it was also a realization, like, I really am tired. I'm not crazy. I really am
I'm not
tired.
just crazy. Why wouldn't you be
Which
tired? You're actually like convincing yourself that
which
it's
sounds
okay.
insane, but it's like you also start doubting that part of yourself. And I
Hmm.
also realized big time that I did have my partner, and he was there for me. And also the
It's
first
okay to
thing
take a
after that
break.
trip I had to do was send him a message that I loved him. Like, fuck, thank you so much for being there. But it was good. I needed that. And
Hmm.
fortunately for me, the mushrooms had an insane effect on my headaches. From the trip on, I've been headache free for almost 2 weeks. So I remember going to sleep that night, and I kind of knew it was going to be a good night, but I didn't
Because
know.
you felt different,
I don't know. It was kind of like I felt it would be a pain-free night, and
or
it
at
was
least an
true. It
easy
was for
night.
2 weeks, and it changed a lot for me. And ever since, the nightly attacks have been mostly gone. I sometimes have like small moments, small peaks where they come at night again.
Hmm.
But yeah, that one trip made me able to call out depression and get sleep. Sleep was my new hobby.
Trip
I was taking
the
naps all
people
day.
too. Woo. You're good.
I was taking naps all day. I would wake up, drink coffee, be like, what am I gonna do today? Nap. I loved it.
Go to sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a good night's sleep. Oh my
Change
God.
the kind of the trajectory of your life just doing a small dose of mushrooms. Which like,
It wasn't a
and
small
like for
dose.
me, it sounded I guess, yeah, not a small dose, but a dose of mushrooms. To me, before I tried, and it did help me as well. It was no, the thought of like I had somebody. His name was, and I remember when I was younger, he got me to bring him mushrooms for headaches, which I thought was insane, and it just didn't make sense to me, but I did it anyway. And I ended up reaching out to him because I felt like I was having the same problem. Still couldn't bring myself to try mushrooms because what if you're in that state and then you know what I mean? But it
I
definitely
know
helped and made
exactly
a
that
difference to
the
me.
reason why I postponed it for so long is because the only thing I was thinking is I'm too depressed for this. I'm not in the right mental state. But I reached
Not,
the
yeah, I was gonna say
point.
not even just the KIP 10 and but depression. I didn't even think of depression on top of that. I was thinking of high KIP and also being high.
Yeah,
Like, how would you handle that?
yeah,
But being also depressed and all those things adding together is
yeah. I
scary.
really was like, it's not smart to do it, but I really reached the point where I was like, yeah, but if I don't try it now, if I don't risk getting a bad trip or something, um, I'm gonna die
Worse
anyways.
things.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so it was for me. I have nothing to lose. I really have nothing to lose, and I'm so glad I did it, and I know my results were extraordinary also because I didn't kick off from the trip plans before, which they really
Hmm.
advise, stopping trip plans like 5 days before. I didn't. I was on 12 a day, and I took a full dose.
You needed to do something. That was you.
I
That's what the point where
I
you were
know
at.
the risks, but I had nothing to lose, and still I don't advise it, but I do get that people get to this point where they take those risks.
Hmm.
But I think it's also I'm always trying to tell others who are interested and worried about their state of mind that of course it's best to be like happy, but if you're gonna be
Hmm.
staying in this level of getting cluster headaches, how are you gonna get out of that state of mind? And it has great
If you're in a
potential.
constant storm, either way, you're gonna probably end up in psychosis. Is that what you're trying to say or no?
With
Because I know people are
yeah,
scared of psychosis when they try mushrooms and stuff like that.
yeah, or just a bad trip in general. I think it's more a bad trip.
Hmm.
Psychosis, I think.
Trip, especially during the pain. Yeah, I can cut that out. Top of your head's not showing. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, psychosis, of course, is something to be aware of, but I think that's more if you already have like experience with psychosis or it's in your family,
Hmm.
same as schizophrenia.
Hmm. Just something to be aware of for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Then it could be a high risk. For the rest, yeah, also have to be aware of like serotonin syndrome, which can be caused by using triptans in combination with psychedelics.
Hmm.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I'm
it's
I'm I'm not the
SSRIs
great
as well.
example. I'm not a great example, but I think I am an
You
example of
did you did you and it works for you.
well, otherwise I wouldn't have made it. That's
Yeah.
again, I didn't have anything to lose. So
I
and
feel like I don't think I either I also didn't take the break between the triptans and the DMT and the mushrooms because I was also in a state where like I was never going to do them ever even just as recreational because I just like don't like being out of my mind. And I was also at the point where I was signing up for Maid and asking people on Reddit what I should do and then yelling at them because it wasn't the right answer.
yeah,
Or it was drink water. Yeah.
hey, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. The internet is a weird place, but I'm also very thankful for it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, that's where we
I
meet
I
most of each
am
other. That's where
I
we find most of each other.
yeah, and of course, especially since the clusterbot server, that's also been a game changer. Like I haven't needed it support wise, but I do see people coming in there, feeling the way I felt years ago when I reached out on Reddit. And even then, of course, there were a couple of people who reached out the right way. I met them, and that saved me. But there were also so many, how should I say it? So many responses that there's so much distance. You're telling your story, you're talking about being suicidal, and then people come there telling you like, "Have you tried oxygen or mushrooms?" And
Well,
like, of course, yes, they can help,
they're
but
just trying to be helpful, and I
yeah,
get it.
yeah, it's always
Some people just
the repeating
need
of
to be
the
heard.
same questions, and like, yeah, I didn't reach out here looking for the treatment. I'm also been telling I've been having it for a couple of years and treatments aren't working. So I think one plus one is like, oh yeah, that if you tell in your story that you have tried treatments and they haven't been working, for me, that's like one plus one is two. Oxygen should probably have been one of the treatments or at least something person knows about.
Hmm.
And what I like about the server is you're having direct conversations. It's a chat. We also have the voice and video chat, which is even more of a game changer.
Yeah, even if somebody's asking you if you've tried oxygen, they're also saying, "Hey, dude, I've been in your spot," and they'll tell their story too, or they'll let you know that they listened first before
And
they
I
throw
think
a
it's a
bunch of
different
solutions at you.
I think it's a different question to ask in the form of a conversation compared to in the form of a forum. Yeah, I don't know. It felt a bit like Facebook sometimes, like the
Yeah, it just
comment
feels like
section on
like a
Facebook.
bunch of people are running through like try oxygen, try oxygen, try oxygen. There's no heart, there's
Yeah,
no
like
care in it.
no
There's
shit,
just
sure.
you still feel
Yeah,
alone after somebody responded. Like I read try oxygen on Google, dude. I know. Mm,
yeah, yeah. No, it's yeah, no. Discord. I see it's most of all game changer for others in need, and for me, it's like I don't know, it's easier and to connect with other classmates. I like staying in touch, active in the community, especially since visiting conferences and things like that.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's a worldwide family we're building here, and we're growing fast.
You're on very fast.
And it's nice
Yeah.
to see also sad, like there's so many people, especially when you hear their stories, how much they needed a place like this.
Not realizing how like it's not just like okay we solved it after a month. Like it's a continuous. People are continuously in need of extreme help. People are alone and extremely suicidal. They have families that don't listen to them. They're constantly trying to get help from their doctors and being fluffed off. And then they find us and we're able to be there for them. We're not a space where you're not allowed to talk about suicide or even crack jokes about it if that's your coping mechanism. We're here to
Oh
talk
yeah.
about it. It's not a taboo subject with us.
No, definitely. And what I also like is you don't have to connect with someone just because they have cluster headaches. You can really find people who also, fit you at another level. We will befriend
Hmm.
outside of cluster headaches as well. And also that almost no one has a story or an experience that someone else doesn't recognize.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
especially like when you're not aware of the community or not active or you don't have a place to go. It feels so lonely, and here you see that what you experience is not that original when it comes to the community, but that helps, because
It's
it
almost
also
like
tells you like you're not crazy. It's not weird
you're
this
not alone.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I've had some people like it almost feels like competition at first when they join and they're just like, well, no, like you don't get it, and it's like you don't understand. You're in the place where everybody
yeah,
actually understands what you're saying. Like we're not here to gaslight you and be like, no, no, we get it. No, we're here for you and we actually understand.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And you also experienced it at the conference. That's even also on another level to be in a room with over 100 of other clusters.
hmm
But yeah, conferences, those are tough. You have to travel. You have to go there. It's draining.
conferences are hard because you have to leave
Also, oh
all your
man,
cluster
it's
family.
yeah, and this is even though it's virtual and online, we do talk a lot in real life, over in video chat, which I really like, and it doesn't go anywhere. We can stay in touch, and I don't think there have been days since joining the server where I've been 100% absent.
Not at all. Even when you were absent, if I messaged you, you were just like, "Holy, I can't take a day off, Angela."
I,
I'm
I,
like,
I
I need to know that you're
always
okay.
I
Are you
always
okay?
check in at the end of the day, and
Mm,
yeah, it's been such a good place, and
I can
I
definitely
I
say it's
loved
more
it.
than just friends.
Damn. Oh yeah, but no, I've been to another conference last weekend, and it's so tough to leave the people behind there.
It almost like when I wasn't able to make this one, but it almost like even looking at the pictures, it feels like what everybody watches when they watch like kids that grew up together and become friends for the rest of our lives. Like that's how it feels hanging out together, like we were
Yeah,
meant to be, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. It's really something else. Last weekend, there was one of our other members of our other admins, and he walks up to us meeting for the first time, but it didn't feel like, oh, I'm finally meeting you. It felt like, oh, I'm finally seeing you again.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's so natural. Yeah, I cannot imagine without you anymore, without the server. Definitely not.
Hmm.
I think it's also great last year that I was planning to go to the conference. You were as well. And we just found each other in the server like 2 weeks beforehand,
Hmm.
realizing, hey, you're going as well. So we didn't even go there to meet up. Like we
It
found each
just
other
ended up
right
happening.
before we probably would have met each other anyways.
Hmm. It made it a lot more. It was easier. It was like an icebreaker having met
Yeah.
before. We could just kind of hang out and didn't feel like you were, like you said, it didn't feel really like we were hanging out with strangers.
I don't think we needed the icebreaker because having cluster headaches is pretty much the icebreaker. That's, the
Hmm.
first time meeting you, you fall into each other's arms. Like we are not cluster headaches, but we do know such a big part of each other already, at least of
Yeah.
each other's lives and the impact it has on you. It makes connecting easier anyways. I think there's so little shame in a community like this.
We're here for each other. We're not here to one up each other. We know exactly what we're going through.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, I'm laughing a lot, but I it's shit that you have to know this community, but I wouldn't trade it.
No, it's this community definitely gave me purpose when it came to my quality of life, for sure. If you don't have purpose, you gotta make it, right? And like Pete says, if not us, then who?
Definitely.
If there was something that you want to tell a cluster head, whether they've had them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years or a day, what kind of advice would you want to give them? Or motivation or something that maybe you needed to hear when you were in a harder spot?
I'm not sure it's advice, but I just hope that everyone who has ever been part of this community in what kind of way, even though you're in remission or it's manageable for you, that we all put in anything for awareness, making this known, getting right treatments, being believed, things like that.
Hmm.
But I think for most that's standard. Like we've met people at the conference that have been in remission for years and they are still coming to the conference. Once a cluster head, always a cluster head. And maybe not everyone experiences that way, but
I think it was Pajit. Yuri quoted him and said, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody even in the comments, but Yuri said, if you help at least three cluster heads, and those cluster heads help at least three cluster heads, there'll be a very small chance that any of us are going to be alone. Kind of like adding to what you said there.
yeah, yeah,
Are
something
you
like
happy?
that. I
Yeah.
am happy. Yeah, I'm tired. but happy. I'm still a bit full from last weekend, I have to be honest. It's like,
I bet.
yeah. Yeah, I'm also really looking forward
In a
to
daze, tired, still reminiscing on all the fun that you had.
yeah. I always get so much motivation out of this. Like it's physically exhausting, but mentally it's loaded
Lights a
up,
fire under
and
your butt.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Especially when seeing the reactions of others for who it's the first time meeting others. I don't know, it's warms my heart. I love it.
Me too.
It's really it's. I don't think you could ever explain this thing to someone, just like a cluster attack itself, unless you've experienced it yourself.
No, I think we should all invest in a machine that shows people what it feels like, kind of like those pregnancy machines that
That would be possible,
like you put
yeah.
on men, and then they can feel like what pregnancy feels like. What we could give it
I
to
will be
cluster heads,
willing. I will be willing to test out that machine to say if it comes
see if it
anything
works. Me
close to
too.
it. Yeah, I will do that for the community.
Let's start driving to people's houses with it.
I
Put this
would
on your head.
I would visit my old GPs. I remember when I found my diagnosis, I sent the document not only to my current GP, I also sent it to my older GP saying like, this is what I have. You see the symptoms? Exactly what I described.
Hmm.
Yeah, not necessarily. They probably
Read
just
between the
didn't know,
lines.
but it's that there are way more rare diseases that are way more known. And
It's even if they didn't know, it's having to put as a doctor having to put your ego aside. When somebody's telling you something, just look it up, try. I know you get a lot of people going through, but like it's really hard to hear people having a hard time with their GPs when like I talked to my GP and she had no idea what I was talking about, but anything I said, she would literally pull out her phone with me and we would Google research together because she had no
each,
idea. A lot of like most of the neurologists, and that's my GP, my neurologists, they most of them had their ego in their head
yeah,
right up their ass. Pardon my French. But it was very hard to work with.
no, but it's true. And I'm also very like advocating for even if it was a migraine, send it to a headache specialist. Like GP shouldn't treat that.
And if it's more than 15 times a day, it's out of your hands, GP. It needs a
Yeah,
specialist.
it
I
probably
think that's
wasn't
like the
back
diet
then,
that's
but
15 times
still,
a month, but
yeah, it's any kind of headache, and if a person doesn't feel okay with it and ask for a neurologist, just send them. But it's
if it's a
also the same,
continuous
like
complaint,
it's also I think the stigma around headaches and or cluster headaches in women, which has been changing a lot. Like when I just got
I think
diagnosed, it
you
was
mentioned it was 2009 as when they started researching doing actual research on women.
no, that's by law, if I'm saying it right, since 2016. It's
16, sorry.
you have to also take women's health in account in medical tests.
Okay, so they're
Before
not just doing
that,
testing on male animals, they have to do testing on all,
exactly,
and that started in
2016.
2016.
Yeah, that they have to, but if it's happening everywhere, I'm not even sure. Like
Hmm.
who is testing it or
And it
whatever.
probably isn't.
Yeah, but I remember when I just got diagnosed, it was they said like for every 8 men, 1 woman has cluster headaches, and now it's 1 to 2. But for even
And it's just going to
if
keep
doctors,
climbing.
especially GPs, already know about cluster headaches, a lot of them think it's a male headache. So female
Hmm.
plus headache is migraine. Males plus headache mostly get redirected to a neurologist way faster
Cluster,
because they're like, that's probably
hemicrania,
not a migraine
any
because
tack. Hmm.
yeah, and I
You're a
believe
man.
you as well that a doctor told you it can be clusters because you're female.
Female and black.
Exactly,
Makes no
exactly.
sense. And
It's
then he
it.
said to let her to my GP because I told him he was dumb and he should go back fishing and probably get a haircut. He sent a letter to my GP saying that I ran in asking for a board of medication. And I called and I was this and I was that. And my doctor's known me since I was born. She knows I did not do that. I literally was just like, you're kind of dumb. And I'm a barber. So my clients told me that you fish and that's all you care about. Go cut your hair. Like, I was petty. And he got pettier.
My God.
Yeah.
No, you have to at some point.
Yeah.
Like I think you are as well. Yeah, you get petty. Me too. We are loud. We talk, but there's so many people who can't or don't dare to
To get
advocate for
walked over
themselves. Yeah,
because they
exactly. Yeah. And doctors just make up terms or symptoms because
Just talk
it suits
bullshit.
their narrative at the moment. Like
Hmm.
what the hell? I
That
fight
was me
with
and the
my
last
neurologist at least
neurologist.
once a year. She's on the
Hmm.
Cluster Headache Awareness Day. Yeah,
On that day, we fought.
except
No,
for
I fought
this
with
year
my
because I
neurologist
because I
about.
was at an event. I was busy, but yeah, otherwise this year I did it a
Yeah,
couple of
you
weeks
were.
later. Yeah, but
Yeah. Do you just call them straight up on Cluster Headache Awareness Day?
no,
Hey.
it's like they have an Instagram
Okay.
page and
My picture.
they uh, they post
Oh
information
yeah, they
about
post
cluster headaches,
inaccurate.
and they always every year post something about the male female ratio. And then I'm coming with like this year I came with a research showing the difference
You're wrong.
changing, and they making up out from it that the reasons it's probably changing is because women get listened to more. Like, great, thank you, finally.
Now they're being, yeah.
Yeah, but I find every year with them like also saying like maybe that's the numbers right now, but if you're a healthy person, you see the numbers changing so quickly. You can also see that it's probably because of other reasons, and that by you stating this point every year, you keep the narrative going
Hmm.
because you will educate people that it
Yeah.
will occur more in males than females, and it most of all probably isn't. But yeah, female headache, migraines, hormonal. Keep an eye on it. Do some yoga. Less
Which is
stress.
like, it happens, but most people or anybody that I've talked to that has gone to the doctor on multiple occasions for an issue when it comes to a headache or something, it's always deeper. It's never just hormonal. Maybe occasionally it is just hormonal, but it is usually deeper than just you need to calm down the stress and this and that. It's always, I want to say always deeper, but it's usually deeper.
But even with migraines, so many GPs like to treat it themselves, and of course they can prescribe the triptans and see what triptan is working for you. But they know so little about migraines as well that please send them to a specialist. Please send them
I
to a
mean, it's not
specialist.
you're doing checkups. You're not here to diagnose when it comes to something that needs a specialist.
It can make me so angry, and I
Hmm.
will always get angry about those things because
Hmm.
someone
The
needs
only thing
to.
my doctor would prescribe me before I was, because it takes 6 months on occasion to get a neurologist here, the only thing she would prescribe me because it's harmless was oxygen. But before that, before I got diagnosis, it was out of her hands. She was literally like, if it's not these things and these things aren't working, there's nothing I can do to help you. What do you want to do? And I'm like, go see a neurologist, and apparently oxygen works. Can we try that? It took a long time for oxygen to work because of the way I was using it and without the cluster O2 kit. But yeah,
That's also a thing. There's so much error and trial, and like even if you get oxygen quickly, how to use it, who's gonna help you around it? Like they leave you
no
so
idea. I had it for
useless.
3 years. Didn't work. I was
Yeah,
still going through
and
full
also
attacks.
triptan tablets. And at some point, I read about the injections, and I asked my neurologist, like, can I get the injections? She's like, oh yeah, sure, if you want it, but it's not that she came with
Were
that
you the
option
one?
herself.
Why were you the one that had to come up with the option? Why were you the one that brought it up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with oxygen therapy, the first time I asked for it, they told me, but we don't know if it works for you, so we cannot prescribe it for you, which is utterly insane.
Is that logic we're going by now?
So the first time, and the only time I got on the ER, I was kind of also like, okay, then I will go to the ER and try ox because the triptan was. But I was like, I'm taking this chance, and it didn't really work. But I just told them it worked, so I could get it prescribed at
So you
home.
could
Yeah.
try it.
And
That's
when
smart.
hearing from others, also from the Netherlands, it's
And then
bullshit.
from
So it was
Scotland is
just my
horrible.
neurologist not knowing how it works to prescribe oxygen,
Hmm.
but probably also not checking how it works.
Not caring
So just
enough.
saying like, we don't know if it works, I'm not going to prescribe it.
Drives me nuts.
Reminds me of the doctor,
As
by the
Rice would
way.
say, it's fixing to piss me off.
When you call in sick in for work here, you have to talk to like a insurance doctor, which
Hmm.
eventually maybe it's gonna decide if you have the right to disability benefits or not. And I remember my first appointment with him, it was on New Year's Eve online, and talking about cluster headaches and talking about burnout. And then he told me like, okay, so if you I was headache free for 3 days, and he told me like, okay, so if you're headache free for 2 weeks total, you're gonna start up building work again. And I was like, okay, but what about the burnout? It was like, yeah, but I cannot save you burnout over video. And then he just continued, and I was like, okay, so we just gotta ignore it. It's just
Sir?
so easy. Well, he have heard from me. Like I put in a major complaint, like major, with
Yeah.
no one there to respond to me,
Deservingly.
and
I don't say
eventually,
people deserve things often.
the fucking highest on top of that company had to handle it off with me. But I was like, yeah, this guy is gonna decide about my future. I'm not gonna let fuck with me. But that's, and then again,
Nope.
I have the big mouth. I'm gonna speak up for myself, but there's so many who don't, or also because they don't know how the system works. It's so much, plus the exhaustion,
Mm.
the it makes you insecure. So much around it. God damn it, love them, I also hate them.
Yeah, doctors.
Doctor.
Nah, neurologists.
Nah,
Yeah,
doctors. I've had better experiences with
all of them.
neurologists than doctors.
That's fair. It's the opposite for me, but I've only had one GP, and I've had her since I was born, so
Yeah, but
I got lucky
my
there.
GP now is, I love that guy. First time I came in, he read my whole dossier, and he was like, "Damn, you've been through some stuff." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, cluster headaches a lot." I was like, "Oh, yeah,
You
okay."
read it before I came in? I don't have to explain
Yeah,
it to you?
yeah, and I talked
That's a
with him about
first,
mushrooms, and he was very interested in that. And now I have a good
which is
GP,
cool.
but you have to be lucky. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
A lot of people struggle when it comes to finding the right one. And then it's not just finding the right one, it's if you want to switch, are you going to be able to find another one?
yeah.
Yeah.
I moved away from my GP, but I stayed, and I have to travel a bit
Me
further.
too.
I'm
I drive
I'm not
almost
gonna
4 hours to
switch.
go see her.
Yeah, for sure.
No, ma'am.
No.
I'm not giving somebody the chance to. When I switched my neurologist, I have to switch again, which I'm going to Ottawa now instead of Toronto. But I said, this is the prescription for chronic cluster headaches when it comes to Emgality. And she said, this is the prescription. And I said, actually, this is a prescription. It's on the website for the, you know what I mean? I just laid it on to her. Not I know more than you do at this point, but I know more than you do. And she said, and I said, well, it's good. No matter what. I actually got a little cocky. I said, no matter what, it's fine because my doctor has the proper prescription. And she responded with, well, I'll be taking over your prescription. So I left. I called my doctor. I said, drop her. Like, no, sir. Like, threaten. That
Blocker
was a
now.
threat. That was a straight up threat. No, thank you.
Yeah, but seriously, like
It's hard to stand up for yourself.
it's so
And
tough if they
because,
make decisions for you, even though you're saying like, no, no, that's not
mhm,
smart. Like, we know what we're going through. They don't.
yeah.
They
And it's
really
not
don't.
easy to just drop. Like I had to, it's been almost a year, almost, it's been 8 months since my last neurologist appointment, and I just got a call. So like cutting her off wasn't without consequence, but
Wow.
I think having her would have been worse.
Yeah. Damn. Of
It was awesome. Thank you for being willing to tell your story and
course.
sharing with others and being a mod for the Discord server. It
Same
makes
to
a
you.
huge difference.
Same to you. I'm so happy I've
We're
met
making
you
a
and
difference.
serve you my life. And I think what you're doing here is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Important. Everything for the
what we're all
community.
doing and everything. It wouldn't work if it wasn't for everyone. If it was just Ed, if it was just you, if it was just me, it wouldn't work. But
Yeah.
and all of the new mods that have joined, but if it wasn't for a team effort, Cluster Buds wouldn't be Cluster Buds.
And the members, they are all keeping each other up so well.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who's
Yeah,
sending a
sometimes
message
when
or is
I'm
in
not,
distress.
yeah, it's a
Everyone's like,
barely even needing to
here we are.
moderate.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to talk to each other and help each other, and they know what to say. And when it comes to a point where somebody doesn't know what to say, somebody that does know how to deal with the situation, even if they weren't in that conversation, they'll be like, "This is how you do it." It's a beautiful place to be.
What you said is more than a family. Shittiest club you can belong to.
The shittiest club you can belong to.
Find it